Welcome to the June 14th Rotary Club of Ames meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So if we could remain standing, let's keep Jean Hassebrock in our thoughts. Her husband Vince is a longtime member. Thank you. A little tall. Is there anyone else in our thoughts that we can keep in our thoughts? Anyone? If not, let's just have a moment of silence for Jean and her family. Thank you. At this time, Andrew, come on up for the welcome song. I will stay far away from the mic.
All right, so, I guess I should be standing here. Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to you from Ames Rotary, Nevada, London, or Gay Paris, from far off lands or the USA. We're glad that you are here today. Come back again whenever you're near. Join us and then we'll make it clear. Around the world you will always be welcome at Rotary. You want me to sing happy birthday? I can sing happy birthday. Everyone else can sit down. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rotarians. Happy birthday to you. And lots of June anniversaries. We can do it again. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary, dear Rotarians. Happy anniversary to you.
Thanks, Andrew. Sure. Okay. Warren Madden, 36 years. Thank you. And Roger Klusner, 7. Jenny, 28. Thanks so much to the volunteers for watering trees. We had quite the number of volunteers, so thank you so much for that. Yes, is that on here? That's fine. Most of you probably saw the link that Karen sent out about our merchandise store that we created through Sigler. It was just a fun way for Rotarians to get some branded materials, especially since it's kind of volunteer season. We know we put a lot of People of Action t-shirts on there, and just a way to represent our club. And at this time, I'll invite Jenny up to introduce our speaker.
Our speaker today is Roger Esser, who is the manager and part owner of Cyclone Liquors, a native of Denison, Iowa. Roger started with Cyclone while he was still a Cyclone, and he is coming up on 30 years with Cyclone Liquors. And he is here today to help educate us as to some fun summer wines that we can share with friends and family. Please help me welcome Roger Esser.
Well, how's everybody doing today? I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me again. I did bring a selection of wines with me. I was told I could not open them, so we'll just have to talk today. But just a little bit about summer wines, the things what Jenny wanted me to talk about. And to me, really, any wine is a summer wine as long as you enjoy it. But there are some kind of guidelines and things that we do follow when we're trying to pick out wines for summer. If you're outside, you're on your patio, it's 100 degrees out, you don't feel like that big, heavy Napa Valley Cabernet or something like that. So what I try to do is I go with wines that are a little lower in alcohol, wines that have high acid to them and got big fruit to them. So if you're sitting outside and you're eating a hamburger, Dan might argue with me, but a big heavy Brunello or Barbaresco may not go well with that burger because it's just so big, it's so heavy. It has a lot of tannin, and tannin is that dryness you get when you drink a red wine, especially. You take a sip of it and it kind of puckers you a little bit, your mouth is a little dry. That's tannin. So when we're thinking of summer wines, I usually try to avoid the wines with heavy tannins. So low tannins, high acidity for the red wines. For the white wines, I also want high acidity and I want medium to lighter bodied wines as well. Chardonnay is one of the most popular grape varieties out there. To me personally, if you get a really heavy oak influenced Chardonnay, it might be a little too heavy for what your summer foods are. Not that that's not a bad wine. If you like it, you can definitely drink it. I tend to do maybe unoaked Chardonnays. Pinot Grigio. Pinot Grigio is a really good summer wine, very light, very crisp, a lot of stone fruit and something like that. Lighter reds like Pinot Noir. Everybody's probably heard of Pinot Noir before, right? Great food wine, goes well with a wide variety of foods. And as Jenny would say, rosé all day works for everything, right? She's basically keeping me in business with her rosé habit. So thank you, I appreciate it. So I did bring a few of those with me today as well. At any time here, if you guys have any questions, just feel free to raise your hand and ask any question that you might. So what I kind of did today too is I brought some stuff that's a little bit more unique. I can bring out a bunch of Pinot Noirs, a bunch of Pinot Grigios, a bunch of Sauvignon Blancs, which are great summer wines. I tried to do something a little bit different today. So I did bring a variety of wines. This here is an Albarino. Has anybody ever had Albarino before? That's a great Spanish wine. Just north of Portugal is an area called Riez Baixets, and that's the region where this comes from. And then it's Albarino is the grape variety, 100% Albarino. Like I said, very light, very crisp, got some good minerality to it. Great seafood wine. And it also has like just a little bit of like kind of a salty brininess to it, which kind of brings out the food that you're going to have with it as well. So Albarino, I think, is a great summer white. Has anybody ever had Vinho Verde? Again, yeah, perfect. This is a Portuguese wine. Vinho Verde just means green wine. So this is a very young wine, all oak, or there's no oak aging to it, just all stainless steel. So it's very light, it's very crisp. And the good thing about Vinho Verde is this is $10 a bottle. So if you're going through a few bottles like I do when I have my friends over, and you don't like them that much, to give them $50 bottles of wine, you all know what I'm talking about because you have those friends as well, right? This is a great one to have along. It's a porch pounder, is kind of what they call it. Usually lighter in alcohol as well. And a lot of times they have just a little bit of effervescence to them as well. So it's kind of like, they call this the soda pop for adults. Okay, now a new wine to the store. What do people think of when I say Riesling, as far as the style of wine? Sweet, right? Yeah. Everybody thinks that when you buy a bottle of Riesling, it's going to be sugary sweet. This is actually a German Riesling that is bone dry. This is Trocken. So if you see Trocken on the label, I don't know if you can see that on there. That means it's going to be a dry Riesling. And also something to look at is the alcohol content. This is 12% alcohol. A lot of those sweeter Rieslings are going to be 8, 9, 10% alcohol because all the alcohol didn't get converted, or the sugar didn't convert to alcohol. So you can know it's a heavy sweetness to it. With the sweeter ones, a lot of apricot, kind of orange, stone fruits. This one here is a lot of crispness, a lot of acidity, a lot of lemon lime kind of characteristics to it, and just a great little summer wine as well. And like I said, Rieslings can be sugary sweet, like the dessert styles or the late harvest, or they can be something like this, which is bone dry, or the Alsatian Riesling from France are going to be bone dry as well. So just because you see Riesling on the bottle, don't just assume that it's going to be sweet. Because I think some of the best versions myself that I've had are definitely the drier sides. But I have people come to the store all the time that say, "Oh, I hate Riesling." They've had like 3 and they're all sweet. but you just kind of got to experiment. I think that's great with summer wines too. It's a good time to experiment with some new varietals. Try some things that you haven't had before, because at the end of the day, it's probably going to get drank anyway, right? And one thing when I'm drinking wines out in the patio as well too, I don't want to get that big heavy wine that I've been aging for years and try it and say, oh man, this wine needs a couple more years on it. That's really not a summer wine. That's something you want to have for a special dinner or something like that. But if you want to drink it, that's fine. I have no problem with that. Now we're talking about rosés just a little bit ago. This here is a Spanish rosé, it's rosado. This is 100% Grenache. Now this is a red grape made into a rosé wine. There's a few different ways that they do make rosé. In this case, they do the Saignée method, which is the bleed method, which when you're making red wine, you actually bleed off some of the juice to concentrate the red wine. And what you have left over is this little rosé wine right here. Years past, they would just throw that away. It was just a byproduct of red wine. And now, since the rosé craze has hit, it's actually one of the preferred methods to make rosé wine is just bleed off some of the juice for the red, so it's pink, and then you bottle it. Now, the original rosé was a little wine called Southern White Zinfandel. You guys ever heard of that one? Yeah. So a lot of times when people see pink wine too, they think it's going to be sweet. And that was actually just a mistake. They had a stuck fermentation. The alcohol couldn't get, or sugar couldn't get converted to alcohol. So he was stuck with all the sweet rosé wine. Bottled it, called it Southern Pink White Zinfandel, and it was for 20 some years was Iowa's best-selling wine. Sweet, easy drinking, but this is definitely going to be on the drier side. One of the great varieties I like for rosé is Pinot Noir. So this is Lemelson Vineyards Pinot Noir out of the Willamette Valley in Oregon. So compared to the Grenache, this is going to have a little bit more minerality, a little bit more kind of that strawberry, crisp strawberry, a little citrus, a little lemon lime. And I think for one of my favorites for rosé is rosés that are made with Pinot Noir. And I think Oregon does some of the best jobs. Also, many areas of France, Burgundy, Pinot Noir is great for rosé. Provence rosé, if you've read a rosé from Provence in south of France, very crisp, very dry, bracing acidity to it. Just a perfect seafood wine, something easy drinking, and usually less expensive as well. Everything I have here today is between $10 and $25. So when you're thinking of summer wines, I don't think you should be going any over $25 or $30. Like I said, if you're having some people over, you're going through some bottles. You try to keep it just a little in hand or in check before the bourbon comes out. Glasses on, sorry. Okay, another wine. What do you think of when you think of Beaujolais? You guys ever drink Beaujolais wine out of France? Everybody thinks Beaujolais Nouveau when they think of Beaujolais wine, which is made with 100% Gamay grape, and it's released the third Thursday in November of every year, and they release millions of cases of this wine. It's very light, it's very fruity. People love it with Thanksgiving and the holidays, but it's really not considered a quality wine. This here is the same grape variety. This is Chateau La Pierre Renier. So it's 100% Gamay, but it's a cru Gamay. So there's 10 crus in Beaujolais that will give you better quality wine. They have to have older vines. They make less wine. So it's definitely a better quality wine. It's got more body to it. It's got more richness than your regular Gamay Nouveau would have. So this is a wine if you have maybe some red meat, some roast chicken, or even a steak on the grill. This will have just enough body and weight to kind of hold up to that grilled flavors on those red meats as well. So very versatile. We have probably 5 of the 10 crus at the store, and all of them are just so different, but they're all made with the same grape variety, Gamay. Anybody here ever have cru Beaujolais before? I figured you. I see a few customers. All the rest of that church probably. So. Okay, another interesting red grape. This is Hoppler. This is a red wine from Austria. Anybody ever had red wines from Austria besides Dan? Nobody? Okay, so this is made from the Zweigelt grape variety. Something you guys have probably never heard of, right? The Zweigelt. This is a great barbecue wine. So if you got like barbecue ribs, anything like a savory barbecue sauce on it, this is really like bright, juicy red berries, very low tannin itself, but really great with anything you throw in the barbecue. even hamburgers, or if you're cooking spaghetti at home or something like that, this goes really well with that as well. So just something that it's not like you would walk by the shelf and just pick that out without having some sort of knowledge of what that's going to be. Because so many people come in, they look at the shelves, and they're looking at all these real great varieties, and then they just go grab a Cabernet, or they grab a Chardonnay, or something that's familiar with them. This way, you can maybe try to branch out just a little bit and try something a little bit different, a little bit more unique. Here's a new wine. Anybody ever have wines from Lebanon? I know I get you on this one. We just got this wine in a couple of weeks ago. I actually tried it. I was very skeptical of this particular wine myself, just the fact I haven't had a whole lot of Lebanese wines. This is 70% of the grape variety called Cinsault. Now, Cinsault is a variety that's more of a blending grape variety. You can see it in a lot of the Côte d'Aron wines, the Chateau de Pop. Usually by itself, it's a little harsh, it's a little acidic, it's got a bitterness to it, and so it's great for blending. And here, this is 70% Cinsault, and it's got a little bit of Cabernet and a little bit of Syrah blended in with it as well. So the Cinsault by itself, maybe light, maybe too much grit, too much acid to it. The Cabernet is going to give it some body and weight to it. The Syrah is going to give it some color, so it just kind of rounds it out. So this would be great with grilled meats as well. And I tried this, I was very surprised by the quality of this particular wine. And it's like $21 a bottle, so fairly affordable as well. Another thing that I think is kind of fun for summer, which you wouldn't think of, this is the bottle of vermouth. Now, when people think of vermouth, they think of making a Manhattan or an old fashioned or something like that. You put it into a cocktail, which is great for cocktails. This is actually a base of loose style Spanish wines. And then has the addition of like wormwood, gentian root, coriander, all those different botanicals and spices are blended in with this wine as well. So although you can make a great cocktail with this, if you just put this in a glass over ice, maybe a little bit of lemon lime, slice of orange, this is like a great wine cocktail for summer. So definitely I would recommend trying something like this. And the good thing about this too, this is a wine that you can just put the cap back on, put it in the refrigerator, and it's good for another month. So you don't have to finish the whole bottle. You can, but you don't have to. Any questions or anything about certain types of wines or anything like that? Yes, sir.
Would you share the story on how you picked the wine from Lebanon? It'd be fascinating how you decided to go there.
Well, yeah, this one is, I work with a lot of different distributors. I work with a lot of small distributors. And this was one that just kind of showed up. He's like, hey, I'm getting these wines from Lebanon. They're going to bring them in. We're going to try them and see if it's something that we want to carry. Because obviously these distributors get samples of things all the time. And he's like, he wanted to bring it up and have me try it with him to say, hey, is this something that we think we could try? And so I tried probably about 6 to 8 different Lebanese red wines. And this was the one that I thought was really good for the value. This is called Domaine Wardy, which is a wine that's been around forever in Austria. Or Lebanon is well known for that particular wine. So that's what everybody there drinks. It was just something that you never would see outside of that general area. So we now have a Lebanese wine section that consists of one wine. So biggest in town, so. But yeah, it's something I think that'd be fun to try. This is a really nice wine, full body, good red wine, great with steak or something to eat. Anything else? Yes.
So it looks like a lot of those bottles have screw caps.
Mhm.
And that's more common now.
It's a lot more common, yeah. I mean, 90% of all the wine that's on the shelves is usually drank within the first few months of actually purchasing that bottle. So these are not wines that you tend to put out in your cellar and age for several years. So the screw caps do almost a better job of sealing wine than actually cork does. So you can see them generally earlier, you would just see them on white wines. A lot of the Australian wines, a lot of white wines with the screw caps. Now I've seen $100 Napa Cabernets that use a screw cap because it actually provides a better seal than a cork does. And I think when wines, if they're a wine that's meant to age for 10, 20, 30 years, I still think a cork is better. But for majority of the wines, screw cap is a fine way to go. And actually a good screw cap costs more than a good cork does, but you're not losing any of that wine because of cork tape. So it's always going to stay fresh with a screw cap. And if you forget your corkscrew, it's pretty nice to have a screw cap. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Can you talk about the classes and tastings? Is COVID impacted that? Are you back online?
Yeah, they definitely impacted that. We had to cancel our whole spring semester and fall semester, we call them. So we had to cancel all those. I'm going to start up a new schedule here this fall. So if you're on our mailing list, you can get a copy of that. If not, just give me your email. I can get you on the mailing list. But we'll probably put out a list of like 20 or so different classes. We'll do wine classes, we'll do beer classes, spirits as well. Pretty much anything that has to do with booze. If you want us to do a class on it, we'll do it. I mean, it's just fun to try new things like that. And that's the type of things that I missed. Like this is not doing the classes, is trying all these different, new wines and new things that are coming up. Because it was really educational for me as well to go do those classes and try all those different wines. So we'll definitely get back on it. I'm probably going to do my holiday show in November as well, where we have all the vendors come in and anywhere from 100 to 120 wines open up. So you don't have to try them all, but there's definitely be something for everybody. So we're gonna get that back on again, and I think slowly but surely we'll get back to normal. Yes, sir.
I moved here recently from Annapolis, and in Annapolis I would usually buy liquor on Friday evenings. I would stand in line, I would look at all the different wines on the shelves, and I came to the conclusion that half the wines on the shelves were named by sober people, and the other half were named by drunk people. Do you have any comment on marketing trends in wines?
Oh yeah, I mean it's it kind of goes and it flows too. Like I'll see some of those labels too, and it's all these bright colors, animals and things on it that just draw people's attention. That was kind of a phase for a while. Now I'm noticing they're kind of getting back more to the old school labels where you see the great variety on there. There's less gimmicks, to the labels themselves. So hopefully sober people did those. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'll see some wines coming in and I'm looking at the label and it's got butterfly and an owl on it or something. It's bright purple or something. I'm like, it might be a great wine, but it might be something that I probably would pass over just by the way it looks. But then I'll get people coming here that'll buy it just because of that fact as well. You wouldn't believe what people ask for. They want a bottle of wine with a horse on the label or kangaroo on it or something on there. And usually we get pretty close.
Can you tell us about your travel packages?
For like the bowl games and stuff. Yeah, well, we've.
Can you repeat the questions for the people online? Just repeat them after they ask.
Talking about our travel packages for Cyclone Travel. That's stuff we started a few years ago with the Alamo Bowl. Basically, we just got together and decided we wanted to do our own charter, which I wouldn't recommend. It's a lot of work, and they won't let you put a $130,000 plane on an Amex card either. So, but we started doing that. We got an email list together. We just kind of put it out there as hey, let's just try this. Let's see if there's any interest in it. And we sold that plane out in about a month, and so then we did the Capital One or the bowl down in Orlando as well. So we said, well, it worked once, let's do that again. And so we do have our own Cyclone Travel. Email us if you ever want any information. You can email, we'll get back to you. But the next one we're doing is for the UNLV game in Las Vegas. Unfortunately, that's all sold out. We do that in conjunction with Cyclone Fanatic, to kind of help us with some of the details. That is completely sold out. There was talk about a second airplane, but I don't think we're going to do that. I think one is enough for us. But that's something that we plan on doing if we think there's enough interest for bowl games and special events like that as well. We've talked about possibly taking people out to wine country, doing some tours like that as well. So, just keep your eyes open, and if you have any thoughts or suggestions, let us know. Jenny.
Roger, for any of you that follow Cyclone Liquor on Facebook, you know that a group of them just went out to a wine tasting in Napa. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, it was a great experience. This is our second time doing that. I've been to Napa several times, but there's a thing out there called Premier Napa, which is it's a wine auction that people from all over the country and all over the world attend. So these wineries that are part of the Napa Valley Vintners Association, they get together and they make anywhere from 5 to 20 cases of the special wine. So there's 5 cases, there's only 5 in the whole world. There's 10 or 20. It's just their blend that they donate to this auction. And this year it was both hybrid, it was online and in person. I went in person with Brian, one of the other partners. We did this last year as well. And I think last year it raised over $6 million for the Napa Valley Vendors Association. And this year it was just over 3, a little bit down because of COVID. But again, it's where we go there. It's a live auction. You taste all these different wines, and you basically you're just bidding on wine. So this year we got 2 lots. We got a lot from Gamble. It's the Napa Valley Winery. It's a Bordeaux blend. And then we also got another Cabernet from John Anthony Vineyards that we were successful bidders on. So we'll be getting those probably in the fall. They're amazing wines. They're going to be expensive. You're talking about $150 a bottle, but there's only 60 of them in existence. And at some point, if I get more of them in line, I might do like a tasting with them, so we can get 3 or 4 different, premier Napa wines and try them all together and have you guys come by the store. Yes, sir.
From your bidders, have you heard how the forest fires are affecting the Napa Valley or other areas?
Yeah, the question was about the forest fires. This last year was really probably the worst that they've ever had. There were fires in 2017, but the good thing about that is most of the grapes were already harvested, so all the fruit was in. These last fires, several wineries in California, especially the reds, have no crop. There's no 2020s, but probably I went to 7, 8 different wineries last time I was out there. None of them have a crop for 2020 for reds. They do have some whites because those white wines were harvested earlier. The reds tend to hang on the vine a little bit longer, so you harvest those like in, October, almost even into November. So yeah, it crippled a lot of wineries as far as not having anything to sell for a whole year.
What's happening with Iowa wineries? Talk a little bit about
Well, I mean, there's a lot of Iowa wineries, I can tell you that. And I have probably some that come to the store. I mean, there's always a new one coming to the store to try to get me to sample their wines. And the ones that I carry are the ones that I want to have more Iowa fruit in them, because there's so many Iowa wineries and they have to do this to make it work, but they buy Concord, they buy fruit from California or New York, whatever, and they make the wine here, which is great. And I have some of those as well, but I'd like to have the ones that have more Iowa fruit in it. And then you're starting to see even more red wines made with Iowa fruit from Marquette, from Maréchal Foch. So what I'm trying to do is I'm weeding down the ones I don't like as much and then kind of bringing the ones I do. But it kind of hit probably 3 or 4 years ago, the height, I think, of the Iowa wineries, and now they're starting to level off and the good ones are sticking around. But the wine is just a little different because you can't grow Cabernet, you can't grow Pinot Noir, you can't grow Merlot, you can't grow any of those grape varieties in Iowa because of our climate like you can in other states. So the wines are definitely different, but there's a lot of them that do a really good job with Iowa wines. And we carry several of them at the liquor store as well. Yes.
Maybe I'm alone in this, but when quarantine happened and COVID kind of first hit, did you see a spike in alcohol?
Well, I mean,
I know that our household.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people did do a little bit more drinking during COVID when they were stuck at home. But we found is like the first couple months that it happened when everybody was told to stay home, don't go anywhere, and our sales kind of dipped because everybody was getting their toilet paper and their wine at the same place, and the liquor because they didn't want to go to different stores. Then after a couple months of that, then I started a delivery service, which was a good idea. So then I started delivering, and I've noticed that people were buying bigger bottles. The person that was buying that 750 at Maker's Mark now is getting that half gallon delivered to their house, which I'm okay with, But yeah, there definitely was a spike. It's starting to level off now, but yeah, for those several months, it was real busy. Yeah, we still do. You're thinking now, aren't you? So we do our delivery works. We do it Monday through Friday. So people would call in anytime before 2 o'clock. I'll put the order in, then we deliver that afternoon. So we're not doing 10 o'clock at night deliveries or anything like that. We're just doing. I don't want to do that. But yeah, so if you're interested in that, just give us a call and we do a credit card by the phone and we'll get it out to you.
So again, with COVID, do you have any issues with import wines coming in?
Yeah, we did. We had a lot of problems with suppliers being able to get product in. And it's still happening to us as well. Like there's beer, wine, all spirits, everything, anything coming from Europe is kind of halted now, and it's starting to come back a little bit. But yeah, we're still having issues with getting some products because of that. We all good? Well, thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you so much. We are sponsored for Raising Readers. You know the song, you sign it, autograph it, and then give it to a child with their adult. So you autograph it. Yes.
Oh, there's a question from Barbara.
How did you specifically get into the wine business?
Okay, a little bit how I got into the wine business. Like Jen said, I started working at Cyclone Liquors when I was still in college. I worked there, and even at that time, 30 years ago, we had a pretty good selection of beer, wine, and spirits. And people would ask me questions about these things I didn't know about them. And it was something that really bothered me. So I'm like, I really got to dive into this. So then I was reading every single book. I was trying all different kinds of wine, and then the bug just kind of hit me. Something that it's either this or teach school. And after student teaching, I'm like, I'm going to stay here. And now it's been so long, I don't know if I can do anything else. But just kind of a gradual progression into the business. All right.
Any more slides? Four-way test. Now please stand for the four-way test. Wait, before we do that, Steve, I'm new, so I'm so sorry I didn't recognize you in the beginning, but thank you so much for visiting us today. Steve Johnson from Minneapolis. Thank you. Thanks. I'm new, so give me a pass. Do the four-way test. For all we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned?
Will it build goodwill, better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thanks for joining us, everyone.